Welcome back, everyone, to game number 3. Auzom Premier League NA. You already know what it is, and the plane is in the air halfway across. Teams are in the air pulling their parachutes to make those long drops down. We're going to see some more awesome Battle Royale action ahead of us while we continue on and on the second half of this 4-game series tonight.
Yeah, so we've had some pretty interesting winners for all of our games so far. Game 1 was Shoot to Kill and Duel, and Game 2 was Wild Card in first, and then Weedy Box Rejects in second with their last player able to sneak in there. This is pretty big for both of those teams, as we said before. If you're between that 5 and 11 slot, then those wins can mean a lot. In first, it was Shoot to Kill, who's probably launching up the rating. Second place within that range as well. Wild Card got their first place as well. Second place as well, going to Weedy Box Rejects. They're in 16th place. But I think getting that win, as long as they can place relatively consistently going into these third and fourth games, they might be able to maintain their spot in the finals this weekend.
Also to note, Ghost Gaming, probably a team that during PGL with the new roster suddenly shooting up in their skill level, or at least in their performance level, went out first last game. And so they definitely aren't very happy with that. For a team of their caliber with those expectations after that land victory, want to be placing better in this series, better than where they are right now, 14th before this series today. And so they want to hope these next 2 games are as good as possible. But they drop Milta, and this circle is pretty good for Milta.
Yeah, definitely a relatively normal flight plan with a zone that isn't too crazy or obscene. So this is going to be a pretty standard game coming out for game 3. But we're already seeing a little bit of messy starts coming from some of our teams. Specifically, these guys that dropped this sort of farm mill to area. We're still seeing guys from God Squad currently in the air, actually getting shot at by Ghost right now while they're still in their shoots. Weedy Box Redux as well, having a couple of guys that were unable to get some to compounds just from their drop. It looks like at this point none of them have taken damage yet, but I don't see cars. But okay, Little Prodigy has secured a jet ski. I see a boat as well to the north. If they can secure one or both of these boats, then God Squad should be in a spot to get their normal stopping grounds of Military Island.
Yeah, as you can see, even though Bollock was close enough to perhaps chase after, they didn't want to overcommit to it. They were okay with letting them go, recognizing that any kills that were to come from that not only would be harder to get, unlikely to get, but also not really worth it this early in the game compared to what they would get out of continuing on their loot route.
A little bit extra as well. Weedy Box Rejects is like right there. Wayland's pretty close.
That too. McCoy is there to call it out in case that rush did come down to Balak, but nonetheless, you're right. They don't want to overcommit to anything because they have to go to a fight against their real next door neighbors. They don't want to be in the middle of business with other people and have to transition over to that. Elsewhere on the map, we're looking at Tony V from Totality, making the run to his own building to continue up his own farm. We've seen a number of teams these 3 games loot up the areas, like the trash areas or west of Pachinko, or I guess strictly it's just 2 of them.
It has a name. It's called the Gaka Spread. It's not trash. Mostly.
Hey, it's not trash itself. It's not disparaging comment. I just say that when it's like scavenging.
It is a little bit rough, and there is a bit more, I guess I'll call it RNG when it comes, because there's less loot. Speaking of RNG, it looks like Teflon unable to find himself a red dot. Takes some shots at some players to his far south. Weedy Box Rejects getting a little bit aggro here, considering he has a buggy and a scar with irons, as well as no helmet, but he's not going to be doing anything too crazy. Took some shots at Balak, couldn't get the kill. Now he's just pulling back.
Yeah, Balak making the hard run west. I'm curious why he feels the motivation to do so, because we saw him go on the bridge camp position to initialize his loot there, but he could have easily gone into Milta with that, because there's only one team. No one's contesting them around that area. Perhaps they're threatened by those players to the east set to destroy X around Milta Power, but instead he's actually just pushing forward, continuing around the trash area south of Farm, which is a little aggressive, but it's putting the pressure on Weedy's Box Rejects, and it's actually forcing them away.
Yeah, so this is pretty interesting right here. We saw Nova go for the mansion split. Vexel actually has claimed a couple of these compounds around the edge, though. So Nova, the compounds that they're running for on foot are mostly already looted. In fact, the compound they're in right now, I'm like 90% sure that Vexel is already taken. So they're actually forced to go into Lepavka from here. 2 of the players are, that is. And that's not like an early game good spot. For someone that dropped in this area, they're probably going to be relatively late to a lot of these centralized compounds. Like, look at that. Render already claiming the Alamo in the dead center with Dash. United as well, claiming those 4 2-stories east of Prison. Those are the 2 big spots that I'll be looking at, and both of them are already taken by teams that, well, I guess United's pretty close, but Render dropped in Yaz.
Here comes Totality on their own rotation through. A little early of one, but they're also very far west, so they know they want to get in before it's too late, even if that means foregoing a little bit of extra loot. Hopefully they're able to pick that up later, if that is indeed the case. But here comes Smithy, driving on the dangerous buggy, but is in the woods on top of the hill, so just marginally harder shots to take at him if he were to drive past anyone. So far, his pathing has been good. And I'm curious on where exactly he has his sights set on. Again, you don't often see teams try and bomb past center. This is still early enough in the game that going center is relatively safe. But it looks like he's actually heading out where Wheezebox Rejects and Ghost are starting to contend.
Yeah, so both of these guys that loot the similar area ending up in a similar spot as well. UMP as well. I think that might have been a Saga on his back. So Ghost, despite splitting up to try and maximize their loot, still not able to get quite everything they want. It will be McCoy, though, as you said, pushing up north, claiming the most centralized spot that his team currently owns. Across the road over there to the west, Wheezebox Rejects already all squatted up in a, I'm not going to call it centralized, but a pretty forward position as well. But oh, look at it. We were wondering where Totality went, and they're actually scouting the center right now. Nova, though, they're doing some of their own scouting and are kind of realizing the same thing that, geez, we spent a little bit too much time looting. Where are we going to go? There's still, that the dip that Smithy's in, as well as the garage and the compound that are currently empty, but those aren't quite as centered as they could be.
Ooh, Smith, you got out of his vehicle trying to take some shots at Nova, who are driving past, but Nova a little too far away and used that dip, a tiny little piece of cover to their advantage and to avoid any shots from that direction. I'm surprised that no one has taken that trailer park compound just to the northwest of Nova R right now. In fact, Nova, they're getting dangerously close to VTV, and the rest have set to destroy X.
Yeah, it looks like there's actually 2 duos here from both squads. So both sort of split hold scouting situation that both teams have done at the exact same time. Some distinct flanking routes that players could take, but it looks like that these guys a little bit more willing to try to keep the high ground, secure the area for their teammates if and when they do decide to come in. But as this happens, Totality is actually able to scout out that trailer park compound that you mentioned and take all of it. So Nova not sort of putting their money where their mouth is, working against him a little bit here. And as well, at this point, I don't see the rest of either team coming in. It looks like the transition a little bit too awkward for both teams to actually link up completely.
That being said, there are benefits to where Nova is currently positioning themselves, using, not even if you don't even go inside shelter, using those entrances to shelter to your advantage. It's some nice angles to get some information on, but VTV sends out a couple of shots, tells them that they are there, lands 1 or 2 on them as well, and out the rest of his team is arriving. We could have a really early push on our hands considering how close these teams are.
It really depends. There's a lot of flanking routes, a lot of places to camp in the shelter. It's really, really hard to push here. It's probably be similar to sort of that Gaka situation where there's just neighbors that, despite them being so close, you can't do too much about it. But, shelter, it's not exactly like a shelter meta, right? It's not like anyone knows what both teams are going to be doing. There's a lot of wild cards that could be coming into play. The concept, not the team. But right now, from this caster's perspective, I'd be very surprised to see either team pull a push out of their pocket.
Ghost all grouping up in this one central compound, or central-ish compound, I suppose.
Yeah.
McCoy surely knows that there are enemies across the road.
Oh, yeah.
Here comes Profi, dropping his teammate off in the other building, and now going to join up with McCoy. Probably going to continue to take shots at each other. I'm wondering if someone's going to run up and try and get to that tower to the northeast to grab that second vantage point around them. Don't know how much extra vision that would give them, and the run up there is quite dangerous because you can see that open hill to get up there. Open shots from the team across the way.
I've never actually seen a team that holds that compound split up to this tower. I've never actually seen it before. It's usually like a solo that's holed up in here that's just trying to mess with this compound, and it is because of what you said. If someone's across the road, then you can't do that safely. It's just impossible. The zone, though, almost finishing up at shrink. Most teams have been able to get in safely. We've had 1 death this game so far, but it looks like most of the center area is taken, except for that garage. which is, while it is empty, is probably mostly inaccessible just due to the significant amount of teams that are around it.
Yeah, it's an interesting spot. It's kind of a controversial position. Some teams love it. Some teams really don't like it. People
Mhm.
have varying positions on that. But look at this,
Oh.
Landoom. Eyes set on set to destroy X. Look at this wide flank. He's getting dangerously close to them. Don't know if they've spotted him out just yet. Looking at their positioning, I don't think they have.
Oh.
Land a couple of shots, and he lands them and gets the drop on the Rift. Maybe even able to finalize his kill. But no, the shots come back in return, and he gets traded out. Loses his helmet as well.
This is not a good trade for Nova here. They need to try to get that revive or do something with it down, but it will be very easy. Force it destroy to revive their down player. Meanwhile, Landoon all alone on the eastern ridge, and look at that, Sit Destroy making a big push. There is actually a player making the wide transition with a car, but not fast enough. Strude confirming that down, and now that player that drove off over in that direction is in a lot of trouble. Still pushing east is Set to Destroy.
Locknarb tried to defend his teammates, but rather he only loses one of them. The other teammate went off screen, continued to drive east, and it's going to be Richie. He's going to be holding up just in that tower. But that right flank ended up turning against Nova as they lose another player. And right now, they're only down to two separated players as well. So centralized is good if you're a full squad, and it's all right if you're a solo. But trying to maneuver when you got tons of other teams crashing around you is going to be difficult. And this circle is going to stay pretty center. It's somewhat east, considering the water is on the far east side. It's somewhat east of where most people are packed in. But most teams are going to be okay with this.
Looks like the big question mark here is Wild Card, Cloud9, and Tempo Storm coming in from the west and southwestern edges. Zampa leading the way for squad, playing the scouting role. Looks like has been able to determine that the spine is in fact empty. Even with the shelter, as we saw before, it looks like the conclusion to this is that Nova is just not in a great spot. That being said, it looks like that the players on Set to Destroy aren't quite sure what's going on here. Nova actually retreating inside with the one player that was left behind. They felt a little bit crazy, I guess, the past few games, making some very, very interesting plays, but hasn't quite worked out for them yet. United, though, able to get a late kill on these transitioning Space Station Gaming.
Yeah, it's going to be Smurf taken down. No revive available there. Vexel trying to drive past. Doesn't go into United's compound either, though. Able to make his way into this tiny little shack on top of a hill and stay alive for now. Don't know where the rest of his teammates are, but United, they're continuing to put pressure on everyone making the transition over onto the east side with a very, very strong 2-2 split employed.
I like that movement from Gates. They'll be able to get to the east side and a relatively empty part of the zone. But over here on the west side, Wildcard grabbing the compound that was deserted by Wheaties Box Rejects, able to get there nice and safe, it looks like, while the rest of Tempo Storm climbing the hill realizes this isn't quite where they want to be, retreating somewhere further west.
Wheaties Box actually leaving that compound that Wildcard are now staked up in, instead going to Lumberyard. An interesting decision. Let's see how that plays out later on into this game. Right now, though, there's not much information that I can get from this area, which is why I say it's interesting. And any transitions out of it can also get punished if there's any teams around them. So it's a little bit of an investment.
Yeah, it's funny as well, though, because this is kind of good because everyone hates this place, right? Like, they're in this spot to transition there, and if the possibility that someone's going to be here is so low when it comes down to it. So I actually really like this play from them in a pre-centralized spot, and they can actually move out from foot on here relatively easily. I think it's a pretty good move from them.
Well, that is if it's not a hard shift northwest.
Oh, yeah.
We've seen a lot of hard shifts. We've seen a lot of hard shifts today. Not just in NA. EU is also chock full of them. Right now, it's going to be Cloud9 arriving at the dip. That Totality had actually just left. I believe Totality left a member here to split with his teammates in the trailer park compound that you see on the top of your screen. But they recently all... No, they actually did a 2-2 split. They found warehouse. I found that it was empty, and so employ a split within it. It's a pretty greedy split. Both these compounds are hard enough to hold as 4, but trying to hold both of them as 2 each, we'll see how that plays on later into the game. They may pick one over the other onto the next circle, but right now holding it, it's going to be doing a good job of map control in the area around them.
Luckily for them, there aren't that many squads here on the northwest side, but the big question mark is essentially what is Tempo Storm going to do? It looks like they're transitioning here north, getting close to that northwest edge of the zone, but where are they going is the big question. I mentioned before that there aren't many squads on this side, but these edge compounds, a lot of them are already taken And the further north you get, like, yeah, there's less players, but that's just because there's less things to play here. So for Tempo Storm, they're just kind of looking for whatever they can get as they can get, and like, just find a hole in these openings. But right now, I'm not seeing it. All right, he's taking a conservative end there at the northwest side. They'll be safe for now, but they're not going to be okay for the next zone, I don't think.
Ooh, taking some shots at Cloud9. They're trying to put a little pressure around them. Some shots come out in return back onto them, but they are relatively isolated nonetheless. So,
oh my goodness.
Everyone has gotten their way in. Oh, wow. Yeah, Rift actually goes down inside of Shelter, even though his team has control of the area above it. Perhaps watching for that one lone player of Nova. They only saw one rotate away, and they heard Lochner shoot from the entrance that he then ended up going into with. And so it's a good idea to leave someone down just to watch for any potential snakes to come up and stop any potential backstabs. What took their spot, though, Nova, is actually Duel arriving there, plugging that hole up as well with their UAZ.
Actually arriving with a 4-man as well, whereas Nova was very scattered early on. They will be able to hold this, but where's Wooly going? Looks like he's going to the new zone, which is going to be centered around that eastern prison area. A lot of players and teams sending out their own little scouts. Richie as well, leaving that Wizard Tower, realize it's going to be a hotbed of action. Does not want to be there as a solo, but this west side is suddenly lighting up with a ton of vehicles moving out.
Yeah, Richie wants to get ahead of everyone and find a place initially. He's going to go for the safe bet and just bunker himself down inside of prison. Obviously a hard place to then leave from, but right now safety is his highest priority, but Team Gates have eyes on him. They saw him come in, saw him go inside this police building. He is able to hunker down. I'd be surprised if Team Gates push on him because they have to drop down that rock face, but nonetheless, it's pressure on him. But now Team Gates, they have to worry about multiple angles because here comes Cloud9 to their west, and here comes Duel to their north.
Oh my goodness. Duel, though, getting shot at from quite a few angles. United to the east being one of the big ones. 4 squads now inhabiting this hill. One less player there for Duel. Wooly somehow not getting lit up yet. Is able to make it to the small little ridge right there for cover. Luckily for them, they're still holding 3. Holding this with 2 is not easy. They're able to keep enough players up that can actually hold this for now. Question is can they continue holding this with both United as well as Shoot to Kill to the north, pinging shots in their direction.
A lot of rock cover around this area does mean we're going to see some teams able to sit closer to each other than we're used to. It's still 58 players alive, and it looks like for the most part, most teams are finding some place to hunker down in. But Cloud9, we saw them take shots at Team Gates. They may want to go on a push if they get a drop or two, but now it's going to be Ghost. They're able to climb their way up the hill in these towers, where they hear the arrival of Set to Destroy X McCoy, holding the angle of the red dot, tossing out a couple of frags.
That lands something.
Yeah, that could land. Doesn't seem to be the case. Okay. It's just a little short. But it does put pressure on Set to Destroy X and perhaps force them from continuing that push.
At this point, if SDDX weren't aware there's a squad up here, they can certainly be sure now. They heard the UAZ pull-ups, and now they're now fragging that general area. A lot of cover, though, but Ghost sort of playing the far left flank, able to put a lot of pressure, as you said. But at this point, the pressure isn't quite as valuable as it could be, considering that Set to Destroy is already in the zone.
Turtle taking a couple of shots, readjust his position. He's basically being the Coast Guard for them, watching anyone coming on their backside where the rest of their team has paid attention to Set to Destroy X. And they do need to worry, though, because God Squad, they hear this action coming down, and they're going to be on the push. And so Ghost, Profi especially, is taking some shots from behind, some window angles available on him, able to get behind cover just in time. But now they know that there is another team attacking from their back. Turtle trying to lay some shots in them to force them away. But Prodigy still virtually full health. Wants to see if it can't land any more shots. Ghosts now find themselves in a very, very tricky spot. But God Squad, they don't want to commit to this. They're going to be pulling off.
That was just like God Squad to try to third-party that fight, but they realized they couldn't actually get any damage on Ghost, which is the team that they were trying to pinch. So they're realizing that, pulling back. I know they pulled back. They're receiving some fire from the Lumberyard area. Meanwhile, though, it looks like that this is one of the only mobile areas left in this new shrink. Most teams at this point have stabilized. 16 teams, 57 alive, but that is going to be a number that is going to decrease significantly. Where are we going? We're going north, we're going south. I hope we don't go north. Oh, God. United in a game-winning spot right now, holding the only compound still left in.
There's a little bit of prison.
That doesn't count, dude. That doesn't count.
That doesn't count. You don't want to go to prison because you have a tiny little choke on the edge to try and come out of. So you don't want to be down there unless you're Richie, which you just want to be down there and hide out for as long as you can.
Yeah.
Right. This actually made it rough for Ghost because they were pinched, but they had to make a transition. However, the two teams that were pinching them, they don't want to stick around either. They're saying, you know what, we're just going to go ahead and try to find a place to circle ourselves. We don't want to punish you right now because that'll end up punishing us in return. Wheaties Box Rejects, they're able to find their tiny little place on the tiny little cubby on the side, taking some shots on their vehicles, driving past. Don't get too much damage onto them. But this is a nice spot that they're able to hunker down in.
West side looking like our survivors of the pinch previously are running into not one but two teams here in the Prison Hill. Pride Rock currently pretty spicy right now. Before they get there, Cloud9 is in the way below them to the north, but look at this, skirting off a little bit to the right, using the ridges and hills to their favor, avoiding the prison fight. That's pretty smart. There's about 3 squads here that need to fight if they push north, but they realize that are pushing south instead, should be able to get into the white safely.
Tempo Storm have to now push through. Render Eastwood's getting to the circle, but Render are in a really bad spot. All of them grouped up, hiding inside a couple of smokes and taking shots from multiple directions. Tempo need to open up this avenue to get inside the circles. They have the vehicles to race in once they do so, but E United have the angle on them no matter what, as well as, who is this? This is Cloud9 on the south edge.
Yeah.
Envious left that position, I think perhaps dropped down into prison. Now they took over that, and they're taking heavy damage onto the teams coming in from the south side, particularly set to destroy X.
A lot of damage from groups that are trying to transition in late, but it looks like here the south side is going to be the next significant hotbed of action. Cloud9 spotting out those players to the south and set to destroy as they make their movement. Fignolo getting down here, but east of that we have the God Squad that is right above Wheaties Box Rejects. We saw previously they had a little ridge and a little carport set up, but it wasn't particularly covering their south. This could be a ridge that Pistola Time could use, but you got to keep in mind, off to the east, it is wild card. If God Squad push out too far, then they could get third party from the east side, especially if they engage beforehand. That's the element of surprise that is all gone for the God Squad.
Looks like Ghost is doing a lot of damage to the kill feed. A lot of teams are taking heavy casualties into this one. And look how close all these teams are together. This is a 3-stack now. Tempo Storm able to climb their way in, but they're going to be going up against not just Envious, but also Duel.
Lot of bodies left out here. Caden, getting shot in the head, snark on that north side, south side. They're getting some pretty good. I think that Duel's in the better spot here. They sell 3 or 4 up at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of downs you can see already onto Envious, and Caden dropped down very low, but he's able to get that heal up. Oh, just in time to run away from the frag grenade.
That was good.
Lopped into his position. The rocks may be able to defend the blast. That does seem to be the case, but Envious, they got to get a couple of knocks before they can go for these revives, else the push is going to come down onto their position. Only a small couple of defilates in between them and certain death.
We
Here
mentioned
comes Ghost rolling up.
We mentioned Prison as being a bit of a meme at this point, but luckily for them, the west side, the little entryway is still in. They're not trapped if they find themselves in prison. That's really good for Ghost. They're just adding one more squad on the hectic fight that is the northwest side. Meanwhile, though, on the south, Cloud9 being very, very sneaky right behind the full squad of Set to Destroy.
They took shots at them earlier, and now they're using them to bound into the circle. Set to Destroy X have their eyes set on another team, and so Cloud9 know that this is now time to pounce. Shots ring out, get one down. Can they get the second? They do, and they spot the third player on the left side. V does get a trade back, knocks down Frolicker.
He's gonna be going down though. He got shot in the back, I think.
Yes, he did. It is Wheaties Box Rejects who came up to punish that, but they're up against the enemies of their own. Or enemies singular. It's just Drassel trying to run his own way into the circle, find some spot to hold down, and look at this next circle. All these players from Prison are going to have to push through. Ghosts are doing the heavy push in. I think they dealt heavy damage to Dare, but Turtle isn't bleeding out right now. And for Envious, it is just Jesse Lol.
It looks like Ghost was actually able to eliminate Duel, if I'm not mistaken, by shooting them in the back. Really good push from them, but I think they lost one player on the way in. And now that they've claimed this hilltop position, number 1, it's not in the zone. Number 2, they only have 2 people up right now. They can't really hold. They can't put a lot of pressure out. They got to try to find some way to sneak in. Pretty much every single squad that took a fight here on the west side has been left with solos and duos, meaning they want to try and play sneaky. They want to try and play passive. with the zone triggering in, that's pretty much just going to translate to run in with the edge. It's going to get hectic here real soon.
Yes, Ghost did spot out Tempo Storm, the 2 remaining players leaving prison right now, and they got to take care of these backstabbers before they push in, but the blue is closing in onto them right now, so they want to do as quickly as possible.
Took their car.
Gets into a vehicle, tries to drive past. BenQ5 just goes for the manual heal up and on. Oh no, he's not gonna take the vehicle. He's gonna stay on foot to try and at least distract them to maybe allow your boy to get inside. But E United are taking too many shots, and that car goes up in flames.
Meanwhile, BenQ5 having a bit more success. There is Ghost who's currently covering this angle, though. Richie as well coming in, doing a little bit of required blue tanking. United and the kill feed doing so much more damage. But oh, look over here. Balak getting taken down by Kazuko very low. Fishing off as well. That sneaky strat working, but McCoy right in the back, getting some revenge for his friend. Missed the initial spray there, but was able to clean it up. But BenQ5 heard all that go down. He also was able to finish off Richie from Nova. It was going to be a 1v1. What of the 4 or 5 squads that found themselves here, which one of these 2 will be walking away?
It's a hard question. BenQ5 heard the action going down, but he didn't spot anything, and that's why he's moving so slowly. But that just means that the blue is coming up on his back when he peeks outside. Did he spot McCoy? He did indeed. McCoy taking a couple of shots, tries to turn around, but can't get the drop onto BenQ. BenQ does get the kill, and that's Ghost out in 9th place. Tempo Storm is still into this, but has to make that run in. Lucky for him, it is open on the west side, but that is because E United have taken control of this northwest edge of the circle.
Insanely hectic zone. We're currently left with 20 alive in a zone this size. That's mostly due to the lack of cover. Jimmer, getting blindsided, shot in the head. His teammates in the combat are not going to be able to save him, getting finished off by Uncivilis. They're on that northern side, doing a good job of holding what little they have. But now look at this. If you're across this road on the north side, that's pretty much if you're shoot to kill. You got to find some way to get there, but I don't see a way to do this. The zone favoring no one as well. Not a single team is in the next white zone.
Weezbox Rejects, they were on the southeast side, but they got taken out by Cloud9. But now Cloud9 have to make, as you said, their own way into the circle, and they're going to be coming across Drassel from the God Squad. Could be backstabbing them there. He does have a teammate onto the east, but right now we're looking at Totality on the northeast side. Also have to make their own way in, and look at the open air they're going to have to cross. So they have a couple of vehicles, but this close range, vehicles are very dangerous, so they're just going to hunker it down on foot. Purdy running in first, checking into this shack. Suspected people are inside, and Mortify peeks out, takes a couple of shots. Now they know there are people inside. A couple of grenades could do the trick, but they gotta get close enough to throw them in.
Totality had lost when trying to cross this road, so they're down to 3. I was going to say, I really like their spot, but they can't be losing players like that. Purdy going in from the left, going to be trying to find some sort of sneaky angle while his friends cover it. This could be a really good frag. Cooking it. They know something's up, running out, but oh no, that frag looked pretty good.
He only got one of them because Mortify was able to make his way out, comes around the side, tries to get the drop on it, but Purdy gets with the 2K, taking Team Gates out of this, and now they have control of the west side, but in the meantime, Cloud9 they push through, took care of Drassel and the rest of God Squad, but now they heard this fight going down, and they want to punish Totality for coming in later than they did.
Both squads having a decent amount of cover. Purdy getting some heals off while his team comes in to reinforce. It's probably going to be a full-on 3-on-3 squad fight. The cover, though, not looking too good for Cloud9. They have some thin trees, but Totality having a really nice ridge. That being said, Totality got to figure out exactly what's going on. Some frags are already being chucked. Both squads also in the zone as well. It's going to be a pretty big standoff. Who can get the first pick here?
Smithy jumping around, trying to grab some info, trying to jump and spot a character from Cloud9, and I don't know if he spotted Moody, but he's falling back nonetheless. Moody trying to go around on the wide flank, staying outside of the zone, watching for any potential flanks or Totality while the rest of his team gathers a spot more central into the zone. But it looks like Totality, they're pulling away from this a little bit. They're spreading out, trying to take control of this total side of the circle, but Moody spots him out. Moody takes the shots and gets a drop down onto Smithy. Can't get the full on kill, but the initial drop may be all that Cloud9 need.
That drop does mean the Totality has to come back and hold this angle. Moody with some very sneaky strats, trying to use some prone strats of being out in the blue to try and get in here, but he can't hold this angle for too long. Catching Purdy, but not going to be able to secure that one either. But Totality, though, kind of like piddling around back and forth, are taking a lot of damage during their movement. Terror almost going down as well.
Cool, down to 1 HP. Moody doing so much work, but now the blue is on his back, and he's got to get back to his own teammates, who I believe took a casualty. Perhaps from Totality. Oh no, with the smoke, he's actually going on the full-on push.
What a cheeky angle. Can Moody make this work, man?
He's waiting for something. No. Doesn't want to overcommit to it because his teammates are too far away. But with this next circle, you can see it on your mini map. They're gonna have to push through it eventually.
That might have been the right play.
Ooh, maybe, but on the west, here comes EU United. They swung down southbound from that compound, took control of the west side, and now they take care of the north. It's now just 3 teams left. 3 on 3 on 3. Cloud9 heard that action. They don't want to push through totality, and so now they're going to push in through EU United, who have a harder track ahead of them because they're on the fast side of the circle whenever it starts to close. Moody with another amazing drop onto Rhea. Can they get the full-on kill? They do indeed. But here comes Geis.
They don't know that they're there. They're really close to the north, but now they're focusing on totality of the northeast side. This might be back for C9. They need to realize soon that United is right there on that northwestern flank. They made the right play by moving west and securing their flanks. Now they just got to finish the job, but now being focused on totality, man, this might be really bad. Totality has a great spot in the zone as well.
Totality have the only spot in the zone, and they can punish both of these teams, Cloud9 and EU United, when they fight each other. But Purdy has to make sure he doesn't overpeak. Takes a little bit of damage from that, gets behind the tree, and bandages up. Elusive, though, he's going on the push onto Cloud9. At least he may have a potential angle onto... Oh, he is Cloud9. Ha!
All of a sudden, Cloud9 is in a really bad spot. They can't find a defensible position in the zone. United is found one as well as Totality, but on the south side, there's just nothing for them, especially with Totality Terra holding that southern angle. They're trying to find something solid. FPS might have found something as long as the smoke is up, but that is not going to be there forever. They need to find some sort of solution, but what is it going to be? It looks like they might be trying to get Purdy. They do get that down onto him. Something could be started from this C9. Are they going to make a push? They're going to keep trying to fish for downs.
Thing is, they know there's another team and they don't have eyes on them, and so they suspect they'll be coming over that hill to the west side. But oh, Moody gets taken down now, and so it's going to be rough for Cloud9. Luckily for them, the one Overwatch player for Totality was taken down as well. But Vegas and Geis, they're trying to make their way in. Geis swinging around the bottom side to punish. Cloud9 taking heavy damage. Is Geis enough that's needed to take them all out? In fact, Cloud9 do go out in third. It's just Geis and Vegas up against Totality. The 3 members, if they can get the revive, and they're all grouping up in one position to be able to do so. But Geis spots them out with the Forex, tries to land some shots through the smoke. They do not connect, or at least not enough of them. But with the smoke and the zone in their favor, Geis is on the heavy forward push to keep Totality from rushing into their own zone.
There's a lot of pressure for United to be aggressive here. They know that there's a down. They got to try to just capitalize on that, but they can't quite make anything work, especially with a huge lack of cover. Geis on the right flank, another one on the northern far left side. There could be a pinch coming out here soon. Vegas has to make it happen.
Geis is distracting them. He's taking a little damage from it, and it's quite risky, but Vegas slow crawling the whole
it's painful
time.
to watch. It's so slow, but he's able to cover this angle. Purdy on the tree. Vegas getting the flank shot, and now we're back down to a 2v2.
This is an amazing crossfire executed by EU United. Can they continue to execute based off of it? Smitty, far back, definitely heard their shots, knows that there's a player over this hill, but the thing is, EU United have priority into the zone. No one's in it just now.
Do you see him? No, almost.
Don't know if you saw it just yet. Vegas is moving back now. The blue is coming in. It's going to be putting pressure, early in a couple of seconds it will. It's going to be putting pressure on Totality, force them to run into their crosshairs. Geis can take it down, though. And now it's just Vegas versus Taro and Smitty. Taro is crawling in. The blue is going to overtake him eventually. It's all up to Smitty right now in this 1v1. Doesn't know where Vegas is, though. They only heard the shots. We're never able to lay eyes on his character model. And Vegas is just slowly pulling back this whole time.
I think that's spot out. He's prone at low HP as well in the corner. He can't stay here. Meanwhile, Taro going down in 1v1. Smithy heard the shots, knows that around where Vegas is at. Vegas as well, not in the zone, forced out. Smithy spotting him, but losing the fight. Vegas winning game 3 for his squad with an amazing pinch play. United is such a good team, man.
Ooh, the young prodigy Vegas netting 8 kills alone for his team. They had a very nice compound, but they made it work like stellarly. Flying colors in that position, taking game number 3 with quick maths, 14 kills.
That transition from their compound, I didn't think they'd be able to survive that. That flat plain area south of that compound is notoriously bad to play, but they're able to use their vehicles, cross that, take out a couple of those solo players, and actually get to a spot with 3 later than 2 players to secure that end game's position. It was really fortunate that Totality I think it was Cloud9 were fighting for so long that did allow them to sort of get a little bit closer than maybe they should have. But either way, great play from United to recognize where the weaknesses in the zone were and actually able to push in and somehow win that ending 3v2.
Well, we're going to go to one more break before we come back with the final game of the night, game number 4, the last game of regular season for Auzom Premier League until we go into the finals this weekend. So you're not going to want to miss it. Everything is still on the line. These teams still want to secure as high of a position as possible and keep themselves in the top 16. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back.